I will now ask the Secretary to read the third subject matter.
Draft resolution, Mr. J.P. Pretorius, Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness and Reproductive Rights and Support of Miscarriage Sufferers.
Thank you, GM. Honorable Pretorius, you have 10 minutes to introduce the subject matter.
Greetings to you, Honourable Deputy Speaker and the House at large. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the most dreaded phrase for prospective parents is when a doctor tells them there is no heartbeat. And this is what 1 in every 4 women experience during pregnancy. Thus, the global community recognized these short-lived lives through heralding October as International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and 15 October as World Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. Yet, Deputy Speaker, no government department in South Africa officially heralds this awareness cause, and as the Eastern Cape, we could set the tone to address this omission. Deputy Speaker, last week in the House sittings, attention was drawn to all the various awareness causes of this month of October, from mental health, breast cancer, transport, to older persons, to even stuttering. While the national days that the Eastern Cape Department of Health heralded in this month include Sight Day, Arthritis Day, Hand Washing Day, Trauma Day, EMS Day, Down Syndrome Day, Polio Day and Stroke Day. And it is all good and well, Deputy Speaker, and much needed. But it raises questions as to why pregnancy loss does not qualify to get the same attention. Yet statistics prove that around 30% of all pregnancies end in pregnancy or infant loss in South Africa, and around 1,000 babies are born still in the Eastern Cape every year. Deputy Speaker, the World Health Organization emphasized the importance of improving support and information gathering systems to reduce pregnancy loss. America, for example, has been recognizing pregnancy loss since 1988, while Australia today even has a grant fund to compensate parents for stillbirths suffered. Therefore, Deputy Speaker, to afford this cause at least one officially recognized calendar day in our country and province should not even be debatable, for recognition paves the way for psychological and financial support. Recognition will also help in dissecting and strengthening the legal frameworks of which various laws are debatable. Key to this motion are the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Termination of Pregnancy Act, and the Births and Deaths Registration Act. The latter is also referred to as the BADRA Act. Deputy Speaker, the BADRA Act was the point of contestation in the 2021 court case of the Voice of the Unborn Baby MPC and the Catholic Archdiocese Church of Durban against the Minister of Home Affairs and Minister of Health, by which the Gauteng High Court ruled in favor of the applicants to grant burial rights of pre-viable fetuses, rendering the BADRA Act constitutionally invalid. High Court Judge Nomonde Mkabisa Tusi deemed this order as assisting in the process of healing, after which the Constitutional Court declined in 2022 to ratify this order, as it interpreted that the BADRA Act is actually silent on this matter and that the onus is up to municipalities to deal with burials. This directive causes more uncertainty in the regulation and leaves medical entities and funeral parlors in the dark, because municipal bylaws would refer that all burials have to happen in accordance with the BADRA Act. Deputy Speaker, this legal lacuna in the eyes of experts is mainly caused by omission and incorrect terminology, such as with Sarah Baartman District, for example, where they classify fetuses to also be corpses in their bylaws, which creates inconsistency in relation to burial orders. In our recent health oversight visits, we found that medical facilities in Sarah Baartman District encourage parents to take their dead fetuses to be buried, even though they are not of viable age according to the BADRA Act, which poses questions of legality on how death certificates get issued. On the other hand, bylaws in municipalities such as our Tambo and Chris Hani districts do not include fetus under its definition of a corpse, meaning a variance in legislation exists in the Eastern Cape, and this is where the MEC for COCTA should come in, to ensure a uniform and lawful approach in the province, as this ambiguousness could cause criminal violations. Honourable Deputy Speaker, let me at this point take the opportunity to recognize a staunch human rights activist, Mrs. Sonia Smith, the founder of the Voice of the Unborn Baby organization and a funeral undertaker dedicated to baby burials. She shared with me her insights and the facts of the High Court case, which was sparked by a matter in Pretoria of deceased triplets of 20 weeks old who were denied customary burial procedures, a story of compassion of which the merits serve as evidence that as lawmakers we need to step in. Deputy Speaker, the mistake often made is to think size and age matters when it comes to the trauma of pregnancy loss. Whether it's a small bloodstain and a tiny dot in the uterus after 4 weeks, or a 40 centimeter tall fetus of 7 months old, the emotional effect is equally distressing. And the problem here is, Deputy Speaker, only if a fetus has died after 26 weeks of intrauterine existence would it have burial rights, and it is then deemed a stillbirth. While if the fetus dies before 26 weeks, such as in the case of the Pretoria triplets, would it be deemed a miscarriage and have no burial rights, declared medical waste to be discarded in bins and incinerated along with body parts of other patients. This thought alone, Deputy Speaker, would hamper mental healing, and we certainly must recommend policy change. Deputy Speaker, many countries across the world have different policy provisions in place. For example, in the United Kingdom, they have a human tissue authority that deals with disposal of pregnancy remains and burial rights of dead fetuses. China has 15 days miscarriage leave for female employees who suffered a loss during the first 16 weeks of pregnancy, while Uganda even has 4 days paternity leave for male employees whose wives had a miscarriage. And in New Zealand, even primary carers to a stillborn baby would be entitled to 3 days bereavement leave. In South Africa, female employees who suffer a pregnancy loss before 28 weeks get no pregnancy leave whatsoever, according to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. And only after 28 weeks of pregnancy, the mother would get 6 weeks leave. This is even more baffling, Deputy Speaker, than the dividing line for fetal burial rights, and the law requires more consideration towards miscarriage leave in general. Honourable members, these factors we're debating have a direct bearing on human rights and reproductive rights as enshrined in Section 27 of the Constitution. Read together with Section 36 on the limitation of rights, these provisions need discussion as it doesn't cater effectively for mothers at risk of maternal death or who may need medical attention after recurrent pregnancy loss, which could even expose anomalies in medical aid schemes. While the universal fetal management with regards to the various termination of pregnancy procedures guided by the Choice Act makes for more ethical human rights concerns in relation to what a spontaneous abortion is versus what an induced abortion is, which makes information gathering and procedural regulation of miscarriages a problem. These intricacies makes it clear that a bill should be initiated to allow universal improvement of reproductive rights through involving public participation, which could properly consider medical legal issues involving negligence around intrapartum, perinatal and neonatal deaths. Honourable Deputy Speaker, let me also recognize another staunch activist, sociologist Mrs. Nobokosi Ngube, who shared with me a journey in compiling a master's thesis titled Study of Women's Experiences of Miscarriages in South Africa. Her research delves into cultural practices and rituals, as well as explains the emotional effect and victimization women endure, but also touches on the silent suffering men experience as a result of pregnancy loss. This study is academic proof that psychological support and reproductive rights education are much needed in highlighting the impact of daily life stress on pregnancy, in particular during the danger period. This presents an opportunity for the MEC of Health to enhance oversight and initiate programs dedicated to pregnancy loss support and services across the Eastern Cape. MEC, the province of Ontario in Canada passed a bill in 2015 called the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness, Research and Care Act to ensure thorough analysis and expansion of pregnancy loss programs, while the New South Wales province of Australia supported a motion in 2024 to ensure dialogues towards breaking down miscarriage stigmas. Honourable Carpet, these provincial adoptions highlighted could be us as the Eastern Cape, whereafter we should advocate for these resolves in all other provinces. Honourable Deputy Speaker, as I conclude, pink and blue are the official awareness colours of pregnancy and infant loss, and I hope next year, on 15 October, we will consider this in our remembrance recognition. And I'm happy that, Deputy Chief of Fishlani, that you mentioned this cause in your member statement earlier, as this is a step in the right direction. In closing, Deputy Speaker, let me also acknowledge my wife, who got me this pink and blue outfit to represent this cause, as I put to you this momentous debate and draft resolution towards improving pregnancy and infant loss awareness and reproductive rights and support of miscarriage sufferers. I so move.
Acknowledge nkosikazi. Without having to acknowledge your wives. Honourable Ngobo, I'm going to give you an opportunity to also acknowledge when you speak Even if you exceed your 3 minutes, it will be fine. So that we can stop that thing there, you see. We collapse it. I now call upon Honorable Evers to debate. Honorable Evers, you have 13 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Goeiemorgen, goeiemiddag, molweni. I greet all the honorable members today in this house. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I stand up today to show our support for the important motion put forward by the Honorable J.P. Pretorius. This is a problem that goes beyond politics and gets to the heart of our Constitution, which says that all South Africans are equal and deserve respect. We need to remember that this is a tragedy that happens every day to thousands of families in our province and across the country. We need to understand how devastated many people are when they lose a baby or suffer a pregnancy miscarriage. This is not just a number in a medical report. It shows the broken hopes of too many families in the Eastern Cape. This trauma is often experienced without enough help or recognition, and it is done in secret without the human decency that our Constitution affords everyone. The truth about losing a baby or a pregnancy, Honorable Speaker, the numbers in front of us are heartbreaking. 1 out of every 4 women will have a miscarriage during their lifetime. Every day, almost 600 pregnancies end in loss in South Africa. In the Eastern Cape, at least 3 babies die during or shortly after birth every day. These are mothers, fathers, and families whose grief has been ignored for far too long. The Eastern Cape has some of the worst problems with health of mothers and babies. Our province has one of the highest stillbirth rates in the country, with 33.3 stillbirths for every 1,000 births. Our prenatal mortality rate is the highest in South Africa, with 5.7 deaths for every 1,000 births. The maternal mortality rate in the Eastern Cape was 108.2 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2020. These numbers need immediate action and full support mechanisms. October is known around the world as International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and October 15 is World Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. In South Africa, even though our government departments support many international awareness initiatives, this one, which affects thousands of our residents, goes unreported and unappreciated. Dear Honorable Deputy Speaker, there is no doubt about Section 27 of our Constitution. It guarantees that everyone has the right to have medical care, including care for reproductive health. But the current law doesn't keep this constitutional commitment when it comes to losing a pregnancy. The 2022 Constitutional Court case of Voice of the Unborn Baby showed how our current laws are not good enough and are not sensitive enough. The Births and Deaths Registration Act does not say anything about the burial of rights of pre-viable fetuses, which are those who die before 26 weeks of pregnancy. Because of this silence, there is a gap in regulations where municipalities handle these issues in different ways, where medical facilities treat fetal remains as a medical waste to be burned, and where grieving parents are not allowed to bury their babies according to their beliefs and values. Honorable Deputy Speaker, let's be clear. To medical staff, these remains may be seen as waste, but to people who want to be parents, they are what could have been a child. In many cases, a child they have been waiting for for a very long time. The High Court said that treating human remains as waste is insensitive and disrespectful. The Basic Conditions of Employment Act also only gives maternity leave for miscarriages that happens after 28 weeks of pregnancy. This means that the mother who loses a baby at 12 or 20 weeks does not get any legal recognition of her loss, time to grieve, or time to heal physically or emotionally. Only unfair, but also cruel. Honorable Deputy Speaker, losing a baby or suffering a miscarriage has a terrible long-lasting effect on the human physique. Studies suggest that up to 30% of pregnancy losers cause strong emotional reactions. 1 in 10 women shows evidence of sadness or post-traumatic stress disorder, which are all diseases that can be diagnosed. Women and families in South Africa who lose a baby often face what has been called medical xenophobia, or insensitive care. This is when they don't get the trauma-informed support they need when they need it most. A study done in the Western Cape indicated that women who had miscarriages felt abandoned, confused by the healthcare system, and like they had lost a lot of physical and mental safety in emergency care settings. Pregnancy loss is a taboo subject in many societies, as the silence around it makes people feel even more alone, guilty, and ashamed. To lessen symptoms of despair and long-term grief, grief counseling should start during the first 6 weeks after a loss. Yet our public healthcare system currently provides limited psychosocial support infrastructure for pregnancy, miscarriages, and infant loss survivors. Dear Honorable Deputy Speaker, we don't need to come up with a new way to do things. Countries across the world have already set up systems that honor the loss of a pregnancy and of full assistance. The policy for management of fetal remains, stillbirth, and neonatal death from the Cardiff and Vale University Health Board in UK says that a parent can choose how to bury their babies no matter how far along they are in their pregnancy. The Cemeteries Act in Alberta, Canada, makes it legal to bury fetuses that are not yet viable. In Germany, several states demand that fetuses be buried and parents can bury fetuses no matter how much they weigh. The ethical standards for Catholic health services in Australia say when embryos and fetuses die, they should be given the same respect as is due to every human being who dies. They also say that to assist with the proper disposal of the body or remains in ways respectful of the dignity of human life and in keeping with the parents' wishes, these instances from throughout the world show that it is both possible and necessary to treat fetal remains with respect and provide full support for pregnancy loss. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Democratic Alliance supports this motion. We see this as an issue of basic human rights, decency, and caring governance. We do, however, think that the motion may be made stronger by making the following changes to make it carried out more effectively and that people are held accountable. We would like to add a new amendment clause that focuses on training and awareness. The Eastern Cape Department of Health, with the help of relevant training institutions, must create and enforce mandatory trauma-informed care training for all healthcare workers, including doctors, nurses, midwives, and administrative staff, on how to handle pregnancy and infant loss in a sensitive way, including the right to communicate, provide emotional support, and refer people to grief counseling. We propose strengthening Resolved Clause 3 to state the Embassy of Health and Embassy of COCTA should within 12 months develop and present to the Legislature a comprehensive provincial framework and plan of action to guide the regularity, process, and legislation of burial rights of fetuses after miscarriage at all gestational ages, ensuring dignity, choice, and consistency across all municipalities in the Eastern Cape, which framework should serve as a model for advocacy in all provinces. This would ensure that the provincial government is held accountable and that there is strong leadership. We want to add a new resolve clause that focuses on training and awareness, saying the Eastern Cape Department of Health, with the help of the relevant training institution, must create and enforce mandatory trauma-informed care training for all healthcare workers. Honorable Deputy Speaker, backing this motion needs more than just words. It needs money, coordination, and political will. We want each district in the Eastern Cape to have its own pregnancy loss support center with professional bereavement counselors, social workers, and peer support facilitators. We want the Eastern Cape Department of Health to cooperate with civil society groups that are currently performing this important work, such as Mama Nature, Bereavement Doulas, Pink Elephant Support Network, and others that help families who are grieving. We want a provincial hotline, an online support platform where families can get information, counseling, and help at any time or day or night. We want all antenatal care programs. It's not 13 minutes. 13 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you may continue. It's as if you're introducing it to me. Yeah, you may continue.
Sure.
Go. 30 seconds.
We want all antenatal care programs to include information regarding pregnancy and infant loss. This way, families will know about the dangers, the reality, and the help that is available if anything bad happens. We want the Eastern Cape Legislature to officially acknowledge October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and October 15 as Pregnancy Loss and Infant Loss Remembrance Day starting in 2026. Honorable Deputy Speaker and members, we have the chance to lead. We can show that this legislature and this province value human dignity and compassion more than outdated rules and bureaucracy, and the full humanity of every life, no matter how short. Families across our province in Mthatha, Gqeberha, East London, and our rural villages and townships are suffering in silence. They need to know that their loss matters, that their pain is felt, and their infants are remembered. As we get ready to vote on this motion, let us remember that we not just passing a resolution, we are giving grieving people their dignity back, building support systems for them, and making the world a more caring and compassionate place. The Democratic Alliance is ready to work across party lines to make sure that this motion leads to real action. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we would remember every baby. We should remember every baby. Every parent should be able to moan in peace. Every affected family should have our support. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Evers. Okay, painful to chat, but I now invite the African National Congress, Honorable Saziwa. Honorable Saziwa, you have 20 minutes.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I pass my greetings to all of us here and those that are watching us from social media platforms. There's one topic that is supposed to unite all of us. It is a topic like this one. Deputy Speaker, members of the Executive Council is led by the Acting Premier, our Deputy Chief Whip of the Legislature, members of this August House, the Speaker of the Legislature, I've forgotten to recognize the Honorable Speaker, leaders of the religious fraternity as well as our traditional leaders, our esteemed guests and fellow South Africans. I greet you all this afternoon in the name of the People's Glorious Movement, the African National Congress. The topic at hand today makes me think of the quote from an unknown author who said the following, I quote, "There's no footprint too small that it cannot leave an imprint on this world." Close quote. According to these words, no matter how brief a person's life was, their influence on the world and the constant reminder of their love endure eternally, regardless of when their heartbeat stops. Today we debate about dealing with the pregnancy and infant loss awareness and reproductive rights and support miscarriage sufferers. It has been 37 years since October was declared a worldwide month to raise awareness of pregnancy and infant loss. According to Maya Angelou, I quote, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside," close quote. Even worse, for women who have carried a child inside of them, wondered who it may have been, perhaps even named the child, announced the pregnancy, and held a gender reveal ceremony, only to have the potential pregnancy terminate without birth. Deputy Speaker, as much as I don't like that country and their leaders, the 40th President of the United States of America, Mr. Ronald Reagan, as he neared the end of his second term, recognized this month by issuing the following proclamation on Tuesday, October 25, 1988. I quote, "When a child loses parents, they are called orphan. When a spouse loses her or his partner, they are called a widow or widower. When parents lose their child, there isn't a word to describe them. This month honors the loss that so many parents endure, both domestically and internationally. Furthermore, it aims to educate and support parents who have experienced such a loss," close quote. Somlomo, Sekela Somlomo, nakwicala lesintu, siyayazi ukuba uthi umuntu ongumama akuswelekelwa ngumyeni wakhe kuthiwe ngumhlolokazi. Ongutata akuswelekelwa ngunkosikazi kuthiwe ngumhlolo. Umntwana asakuswelekelwa ngabazali kuthiwe inkedama. Kodwa ngenxa yobunzulu benxeba lokuswelekelwa ngumntwana akukho gama elifumanekayo nakwisintu xa umuntu eswelekelwe ngumntwana. Loo nto ke ichaza ubunzulu balomba sithetha ngawo namhlanje. Deputy Speaker, Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day is observed on the 15th of October worldwide. On this day, newborns who have passed away during pregnancy or shortly after birth, such as miscarriage, stillbirth, neonatal fatalities, and infant losses, are honored and remembered. As a result, we saw that many families observe this day by lighting candles at 7 o'clock on October 15 of each year to create a continuous wave of light for an hour worldwide in commemoration of all the babies who passed away too soon. This day seeks to erase the taboo around these losses and give them an opportunity to express their sorrow. Deputy Speaker, the following yearly global statistics attest to the gravity of today's debate. There are approximately 44 pregnancy losses every minute, or about 23 million miscarriages. There are about 2 million stillbirths, or 1 in every 16 seconds. There are almost 2.3 million newborn fatalities, or 6,300 deaths on average. And lastly, there are about 27.1 infant deaths for every 1,000 births. Deputy Speaker, when we zoom in the stats of our beloved country, one will notice that there's some great work done by the ANC-led government in addressing today's topic because, firstly, in our 55th National Conference, we concluded that, we stated that these issues needed to be given priority. The attainment of development and justice is a contingent plan that the health of mothers and their offspring needs to be attended to. Our delegates in that national conference decided that women's health, including universal access to reproductive health services, health as a human right, and the choice to terminate a pregnancy must be given priority in all public and private health facilities so that South Africa can be on track to meet 3 interconnected Millennium Development Goals concerning women as set out by members of the United Nations. Deputy Speaker, our conference further resolved that it is significant to this debate to focus on women's health, and that must include psychological effects of miscarriage, and that the 15th of October, the World Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day, must be officially incorporated into the country's calendar. That the 15th of October, the World Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day, must be officially incorporated into the country's calendar. On infant mortality, South Africa's infant mortality rate has been trending downwards, as it is going to be depicted here below. 24.4 fatalities for every 1,000 lives birth in 2023. 23.1 deaths for every 1,000 live births in 2024. And 22.7 deaths for every 1,000 live births in 2025. On miscarriage, according to recent reports, the number of early pregnancy deaths in South Africa is on the decline. The rate of miscarriage is 0.96%. Miscarriage fell by 19% between 2020 and 2022 compared to 2017 and 2019. Deputy Speaker, our courts have made the following contributions in elucidating reproductive rights. Gauteng High Court in 2021 determined that several provisions of the Births and Deaths Registration Act regulations that categorized fetuses under 26 weeks as a medical waste were unconstitutional, giving parents the authority to bury fetuses that were already viable. Again, Constitutional Court in 2022 revoked the High Court decision, arguing that Birth and Death Registration Act is silent because it exclusively deals with the registration of live births and stillbirths and leaves burial regulations to the municipalities. Again, the Gauteng High Court, in the matter of the voice of the unborn baby, indeed ruled in favor of the applicants, whereafter the Constitutional Court ruled against the High Court. The court said that the order could not be allowed as Section 20 of the Births and Death Registration Act does not specify that such burials may not take place, stating that this decision is up to local municipalities as burials are covered within its bylaws, and this is why it is important for us to debate this matter in this House. Deputy Speaker, Section 12, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which protects the right to bodily and psychological integrity, including the freedom to make reproductive decisions, serves as a guiding tool when we provide these healthcare facilities. In contrast, the right to obtain healthcare services, including reproductive healthcare, is upheld by Section 27, subsection 1, paragraph A. Deputy Speaker, to get to the legal aspects and prove why awareness and legal strengthening are needed for this topic, the law pertaining to the management of fetal remains in South Africa deemed the fetus to not have any constitutional right and is primarily viewed as being part of the body of a pregnant woman. Deputy Speaker, the general legal framework around pregnancy losses could pose not to be adequate enough in South Africa, and parts of various acts may need to be brought into discussion on how it affects pregnancy loss rights. Those acts are the following: Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Labor Laws Amendment Act, Tissue Act, Medical Schemes Act, Choice on Termination of Pregnancy Act, Children's Act, Local Government Municipal Systems Act, Environment Conservation Act, General Laws Amendment Act, National Health Act, and the Births and Death Registration Act. We therefore, Deputy Speaker, agree that a bill could be initiated to deal with these various species collectively towards improving policies and serve as a guiding tools to close any gaps in the legislation that may exist. And in this regard, we call upon Honorable Pretorius to submit a member's private bill in this regard.